Don't use your salary to buy luxuries. Rich Dad Poor Dad is a 1997 book written by Robert T Kiyosaki and Sharon Lechter. It advocates the importance of financial literacy, financial independence, and building wealth through investing in assets. Rich Dad Poor Dad has sold over 32 million copies in more than 51 languages across more than 109 countries. Been on the New York Times bestseller list for over 6 years. Actor Will Smith said he taught his son about financial independence by reading this book.
And my dad, we're reading this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
Yeah.
And just that whole book, I think like of him, it's like he's guiding me like throughout the whole book.
PBS Public Television station KOCE aired a 55-minute presentation of Kiyosaki titled A Guide to Wealth in 2006. Donald Trump did a literary collaboration with Kiyosaki in 2006. An American fashion entrepreneur and Shark Tank US investor, Daymond John, has called the book one of his favorites. Hearing this book about a lot, I thought to give it a try. Welcome to Simplified with Ashish. I am Ashish Soni. Every week I simplify the complex topics in markets, finance and the business world. So if you're interested in these topics, consider subscribing to get the simplest explanations of the most complex topics. While reading this book, one of the most interesting points that caught my attention is the concept of don't use your salary to buy luxuries. And this is the concept I wish to elaborate more in this video. You would then wonder, then why do we earn? And if we don't use that, what should we use? The answer is build assets and use cash flows from those assets. Let me explain the terms cash flows and assets. Assets are anything that earns you money or cash flow even while you sleep or while you are not being actively involved. Let's look at a few examples. Property. You bought a flat for let's say 50 lakhs and then you rented it out to a family. The family pays you money every month without you getting actively involved. This is passive cash flow. Then you have fixed deposits. Let's suppose you invest 1 lakh in fixed deposit and you get 7 to 8,000 depending upon your bank rates. Third is dividend paying stocks. Let's suppose you invested 1 lakh in a stock and you get 2,000 for example annually as dividends from the company. Dividends are a company's way of sharing profits with their shareholders. YouTube video or blog. Let's suppose you created a piece of content that the world is consuming. Then YouTube or Google runs ads on these content pieces and you get paid. For example, for every 1,000 views on YouTube, you may get paid anywhere from $1 to as high as or more than $20 or more. Hence, it is advised to build or own such assets that provide cash flows that will help you with your expenses and even luxuries. But you would definitely argue it is not easy, and it is not. I assure you, at least in the short term. And hence people either slack or lead poor lives or play the long-term game to get rich lives. Let me explain what is the difference between poor life and rich life. The book beautifully summarizes lives of 3 people. Cash flow from poor person, cash flow from a middle class person, and cash flow from a rich person. Let's look at these one by one. This is the cash flow pattern of a poor person. A person earns through his or her job and expenses the income for his needs such as food, housing, healthcare, education, so on and so forth. About 60% of India's nearly 1.3 billion people live on less than $3.1 a day, the World Bank's median poverty line. And 21% or more than 250 million people survive on less than $2 a day. It has been researched that poor people spend 50 to 70% on food, 10 to 30% on housing, 5 to 50% on healthcare, and the rest change on education, transportation, etc. etc. This is the cash flow pattern of a person in middle class. A middle class person earns more than a poor person and hence is more comfortably able to take care of basic necessities such as food, rent, etc. etc. But then, due to financial illiteracy, they go ahead and take up liabilities or loans that starts eating into their income very quickly. As we earlier talked about assets are anything that earns you money even while you sleep or while not being actively involved. On the other hand, liabilities are anything that take away money from you. Major liabilities or loans that a middle class person has are mortgage loans, vehicle loans, education loans, credit card debts, etc. etc. People tend to upgrade their lifestyle and end up paying for it using just one source of income. According to Statista, over 97% of Indians earned less than 3 lakh or around $3,700 per annum only. Now this is the cash flow pattern of a rich person. A rich person acquires multiple assets, both income generating as well as non-income generating. The income generating assets provide enough income to not just support their expenses but also their luxuries. These income generating streams can come from various asset sources such as business, investments, high paying professions, entertainment, etc. etc. According to this CNBC article, 65% of rich people had 3 streams of income, 45% had 4 streams of income, and 29% of rich people had 5 or more streams of income. So effectively, rich build assets for which they don't have to spend any single minute and it keeps generating income for them. On the other hand, middle and poor class people use their income for expenses. And as their income becomes zero, let's suppose due to job loss, sabbatical, etc., etc., they start to panic because they don't have other sources of income aside from their job. And due to this, they might soon have to dip into their savings. And this way, they will never be able to get out of the rat race and are almost always afraid. But building any asset class takes time. And this is precisely the reason why the sooner one understands the concept of asset, the sooner one starts building one of their own. One can and should start building their asset as soon as possible. You can build your asset even while you are in a job. It will not be easy. It will require hard work, discipline, etc. But the end could possibly give you a lot of peace in mind and upgrade your lifestyle in the long run. This is precisely the reason why the rich get richer. The asset column generates more than enough income to cover your expenses, while the balance gets reinvested into the asset column. The asset column continues to grow and therefore the income it produces grows with it. The result, the rich get richer. So the key takeaway from this book for me is build out your assets so that the income from those assets is able to fund your expenses and down the line maybe your luxuries. That's it from my side.